Okay, so now I'd like to talk about this section 5 here, what you could do in the what I call the nurse's bonus station. So we went over all the other parts. So you see here we have the 4 options, and you can place one or more nurses in there, and when you're programming your board to take those special actions when that stage comes around. So now let's go over and see what those options are. And we can see on our main board here, let me adjust this a little bit, these pictures are the same as on the board. So this is as if you were virtually placing your nurse there. So if you remember, we had ours placed in the top one, so that would be the equivalent of placing it here. Note that even though you are limited on your board from placing one in each section, multiple players could have chosen that same action. So red could have also gone here during that turn, and that's okay. It's still resolved in player turn order if there's any thing that makes a difference there, and it does basically only for this one, really. Anyway, so let's talk about what these 4 are. This is the technology track, this is the bonus point section, this is making a new nurse, and this is creating a new exit hole. So we'll talk about each of those in turn. So first, let's just go over the bonus points here. As you remember, we talked about in the setup, you have 6 tiles that are in play for any one game, and they were determined randomly. Don't know if you can tell here, there's different colors. So the first section is blue, the second section is purple, and the last is orange, and that's depicted here as well. Blue, purple, orange. Sometimes the blue and purple are hard to distinguish for some people. So anyway, as you can see here, we see our leaf symbol with the points. So you get points depending on which section you can achieve. So some interesting rules here you got to pay attention to. Try not to get confused. There are 2 sides, a top and a bottom, if you will, for each of these. And any one player can go on one section only once. So yellow could not do, 2 of these actions, but they could do this one, and then a later turn this one, and a later turn, of course, because you only have one spot for there on your player board. So the rulebook does a great job of describing each of these. It's pretty much the back page there, but just briefly, this is turning in 5 larvae, and this is turning in 2 soldiers, basically sacrificing these goods. This is 5 food, and this is 3 bugs. If you remember, along the way, you could have been killing bugs to get out of your way, or just for the resources or points, and you would keep the tile, the little token here, that you got, and this would be, you would just turn 3 of those in, and that's good. Otherwise, they have no in-game or points purposes other than that. These 2 are a little more complicated, so you can read those in the rules. But the point is, when you take this action on your board and you go here, then you need to do this. you would pick what you can achieve. Another rule about this, though, is that you do have to go from left to right. So your first turn, the first time you take this action, you would have to take one of these, top or bottom, and let's just say I did this. And then in some future turn, if I took this action again, I could either go to the other one, as I said earlier, or I could choose now to go to the purple section. I cannot jump to the orange section, and likewise on my first turn, I could not have jumped there. I have to start in the leftmost section here. One thing to note is just because I went to the bottom here on the first turn does not mean I have to only go to the bottom here on the second. Some future turn, I could go up here. That seems to confuse some people along the way. Another point, as we said, is you could also do that, and then in some future turn, now you can do one or the other, and then in another future turn, you could do one of the orange. So that's something to pay attention to. You have to go from left to right, and you can only do once. You can only take this action once, and you can jump over as far as going left to right. Now, points. This is another thing, as we saw here, 6, 9, 12. That's straightforward when you place here. And if you were able to complete that, you give up your 2 soldiers, you would get 6 points immediately and move your thing along the scoring track. Now, there's another crafty thing about this, and that is first mover advantage. If you see here, again, the board has everything you need to know. It says that if another player places after you, so let's say red comes on here, then depending on the number of players in the game, you get bonus points. So in this case, let's say we were playing a 4-player game, yellow would then get 3 points because red plays after in a 4-player game, 3 points and more points as such. Now, that is not the same. If red had placed there, then yellow does not get any bonus points. Now, one important rule about this is placed there on a future turn. So if yellow and red had taken this nurse bonus action on the same turn, same season if you will, and even though yellow went first in player turn order and then red went, the bonus points do not apply. This is only on some future turn. So that is important to remember. That gets mixed up a bit. So that's how that works. Again, you have to be able to actually do it. That's another thing. You you have to be able to achieve it. You can't just put it there. And you sacrifice those goods or things. You do whatever it says, and then you get the points. Another point to notice is once you've placed this, that nurse stays there. So you have, in effect, sacrificed your nurse and future nurse actions that represents in order to get these points. So it's a significant exchange there. So hopefully it's worth it, but the idea, of course, is that you're going to do that again in the future to get even more points. Anyway, so won't go over to too much strategy, just pointing that out. All right, and we go back and say, so that is the bonus point action. The other one is creating a new nurse, and that's straightforward. You just simply turn in 2 food and 2 larvae, and you get a new nurse, and you take that from your stockpile and you put that in your nurse's station number 2 there for future turns use. That's a common action, as you might expect. And this one, not so obvious, placing a new exit hole. So let me move this back a little bit here. If we say yellow had, just to make this easier for me, say yellow had started here and maybe placed a pheromone up there. We're in some 4-player game, so we can violate that black line there. And then now, yellow wants a new exit hole. Then basically they're digging out, and that's why they get the earth. So they can place their new exit hole there, for instance. And one rule is that the exit hole has to be next to a pheromone that you control. So it could be, I believe it could be your color or if you had control of a special tile. And it doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be a perfect connection here. The pheromone can be out anywhere. This just has to be somehow connected to that. Obviously, you cannot place this on top of an opponent's hole or pheromone or something else. It has to be a free space. And it doesn't matter if there's a mushroom under here or not. It's an exit hole, so it's not producing resources. So this is useful for getting around the board because now you can pop out of here if you wanted to access something over here. It's useful for getting around if you've been blocked. That will happen quite a bit in this game. And so there's lots of uses for that. Let you figure that out on your own, but that's just functionally how it works. And then, again, you immediately get the earth, the brownstone, and you put that in your inventory. So that will be available. And then the last one. So the last one is the inventory track. So I'm going to scoot this back over here so we can show our board again. So here we are again on the inventory track now. So what you're saying is you want to increase your inventory. Industry, if you will, technology. And you go down here. It may be hard to see in this, but this is 2 brown cubes. So in order to take that action, you have to pay the 2 brown cubes. So you would have to have had that, let's say, in your... by the time you get here, you would have had that in your inventory. So cleverly, maybe if you had firstly done an exit hole and gotten the Earthstone, which we just did, then now you have it, and so now you can go up the technology track. And so again, these resolve in the order in which you would like to do that, but also in player turn order. And as the as I said earlier, the play turn order matters because the exit hole, somebody may be fighting for the same space or something. Otherwise, the other things are just roughly simultaneous. Anyway, so you pay the 2, and you say, lovely, paid those, and you go up the technology track. And so these allow you to do different items. So here, it's telling you that now you can place level 3 pheromones, which are these, or the long ones here, and now you also have access to the special tiles. So let's talk about those real quick. There are these 2 types here, which are brown and green, and they produce, the brown one produces a earth or a stone. I don't know if you can see the little slash as an or marker there, and the green produces food. So this, when you push this down on the board, you don't populate it like you do the other tiles. You don't put cubes on there. These just always produce whatever is on there, and it's an infinite supply, if you will. So a couple things that means is, one, these can never be cleared, and so they can never be, you can't clear this pheromone. It's never empty. And 2, you always know what you're going to get, so I guess there's that. And you can see you get points here, just like you do other tiles. And notice that you have to pay to put these down. For your own pheromones, you don't pay to put them down, you just put them down. But for the special tiles, you actually have to pay, and it's opposite. That's one thing to remember. You would pay a green to put the brown one down, and you would pay a stone or gray to put the green one down. Unfortunately, in some versions of this, there were printing mistakes on the tiles, and that can be confusing. So just remember that. This, again, tells you what you need to know there. So that's that. And then if in some future turn you were to want to go up the technology track again, it would cost 2 earth and a stone, as you can see, hopefully see there. And you go down, and now you have access to 4, which are these and some other types. Sorry, and those. You can place those down. And also, here's how you can get extra inventory. That's what these 2 blank spaces are. So now your inventory limit would increase to 6. Also, once you're down these spots, you also have access. You can use your workers in here. This is larva, this is food, and this is either or. Again, only one ant could ever be there at a time, but he doesn't go out of the hole and doesn't die, so that's quite useful. And then finally, you can go down for 3 stone, and you get access to your level 5 pheromone, which is that, which gives you 6 points, and the option of putting down this special tile, which basically is just a point generator. It's 4 points itself plus 2 points a turn. But you see here, you actually have to pay 1 of each cube to do that. And also, you have access to this special spot here, which is if you put your worker here, you can now pay 1 food or green cube to get 2 points, and you can do that just once per turn. So it's a way to make points, I guess, if you have a lot of food laying around. So those are the 4 bonus action spots, and again, you program that in earlier, maybe doing 1 or more if you want, and then you resolve them in player turn order.